Okay, kids, today I'm going to explain the area, volume, density, rounding, and measurement practice activity. So if you take a look, the first activity is rounding. What you do is you take a look at the number. The number is 451,451.7576. You have to round to the tenth place. So when you're rounding to a certain place, you find the place. In this case, it's directly to the right of the decimal point. And then you look one place past that to the hundredths column. And I'm looking at this number, and you have to decide, is that number 5 or greater, or is it less than 5? If it's 5 or greater, you add 1 to the column you're rounding to. So since 5 is 5 or greater, this number becomes 451.8. I add a 1 to my tenths place. So if you had this number instead, 451.7476, again, we're rounding to the tenths place. So again, we look to the hundredths place, which is the second one after the decimal point. That is less than 5. It's a 4. Because it's less than 5, the tenths place will stay the same. Just to clarify, if I was rounding to the hundreds, if I was rounding to the nearest hundredths place, I would look at this column, okay, 400. And again, you look to the place directly to the right of that. In this case, it would be a 5. And so if I was rounding this to the nearest hundred, this number would become 500. Because 5 is 5 or greater, and so I add 1 to the column I'm rounding to. So the first step is to identify which column you're rounding to and find that column. In this case, for all of these examples, it's tenths place, and then look to the column directly to the right of that, which in this case will be the hundredths column. If it's 5 or greater, you add 1, like in this example up here, and if it's less than 5, like in this example, then it stays the same. And the other numbers will then disappear after that. Okay? And that's it for that. So measurement, you're going to take this ruler. This ruler moves. Make sure you line up. Don't line up the edge of the ruler here, but you line up the edge of the ruler here. So the zero is right at the end. And measure the distances of the lines and record those distances. Then you have to calculate area, which is length times width. On these three examples, write the answers within the boxes. Then you're calculating volume, which is length times width times height. So if you look here, this is a cube. So it's 3.1, 3.1, and 3.1. Right? 3.1, 3.1, and 3.1. On this case, you have a rectangle, so this length is here, but then this one is 2.8, 2.8, 2.8, and 2.8. It's a square N. Right? Rectangles have squares and oblong sides. So you multiply length times width times height again. Density, mass divided by volume. You can also manipulate this density equation to solve for other variables. So in this case, we're dividing 2 by 2, putting our answer here, and so on and so forth. And again, this shows you how you can manipulate the density triangle to solve for anything. So if I want volume, if I need to solve for volume, volume equals mass divided by density. So I can use that equation to solve for volume. In this case, when I want to find mass, mass equals density times volume. So I can multiply these two together to get the mass. And we've already said that density equals mass divided by volume. So this triangle is used to manipulate the formula to solve for other variables. In the last part of this activity, you need to take ice and place it in water, or some kind of object and place it in water. So you have to place it in the water based on how the density of the object compares to the water. So in the case of ice, ice has a density of 0.9 grams per centimeter cubed. So that means it's 90% as dense as water, because density of water is 1.0 grams per centimeter cubed. And the comparison of 0.9 to 1.0 is a magnitude of 10, and so it's 10% less dense. Or the other way to think of it is 10% or 90% as dense, in which case 90% of the ice, in this case, this object, will be in the water, and only 10% will be out. So in these other examples, you have to place these objects with the density. The density is given at the bottom of the cup. This is a glass of water. And so you're going to place the object in the glass of water based on how dense it is. In the case of the example here, this is only 0.2 grams per milliliter. Remember, a milliliter is equal to a centimeter cubed. So it's the same as these, grams per centimeter cubed. These are the same, and these units are the same. So this is 0.2. And so compared to 1, it is a lot less dense. Okay, it is 80% less dense. That's why 80% of the block of this object's out of the water and only 20% is in the water. So you have to place these not just in the water, but where they would be in relation to their density as compared to water. Okay, and there's 3 more of those for you to do. I hope this was helpful. Good luck. Have a nice day.